Good for you guys. For the experienced guy, because guys, you won't lay off 40% of your staff. You won't do that. Dom's not going to live long enough to ever fire 40% of his staff. If he's got 5,000 people, that ain't going to happen. And that's how you deal with thin margins. Jack Welch laid off 200 and some thousand people. His business went from 5% gross margin to 22 or something like that. It's easy. It's a no-brainer. You just up all these people, they're gone. It's like I said, okay, you with the ugly, come here, carry your pins now. Everybody else is gone. If you want a severance check, you'll be out of here by 7 o'clock tonight. The Russian way. That's why I did fine in Russia. Closed down plants didn't make a shit to me. It does make a shit, but I mean, you still got to do it. So that's why you don't like thin margin business.
Understood. I think in my industry, the margin is huge.
I understand. People
start thinking that.
Part of the reason the margin's huge is because you're getting paid a lot of money vis-a-vis what you do. We have these windows done every month. They don't look dirty to me when the guys are in there. And you're right, whether it rain, they still cleaning them. They look just as dirty one day later, they're just as dirty as they were the day before.
Yeah, but it's part of the culture, especially in UK, to have window cleaning.
Yeah, well, not my culture. I can't see out the fucking windows. It's fine with me.
Yeah, but you came from America, so.
Yeah, fuck that. I don't need that. Why? My wife is part of her culture because poor people used to wash their own windows. Just like my mother didn't want me to crawl around on the ground and get my diapers dirty. It's a peasant mentality.
That's true. You can imagine some of our customers, they're living like dogs, and I even don't know how they pay me for window cleaning. So
don't ask. You don't care.
I don't care, no.
I know.
I even offering them extra services and they're happy to pay. But
Yeah. So did I answer your thin margin business?
Yes.
I can just see you laying off 4,000 or 5,000 people.
Oh,
crying in the streets, them hanging onto your car as you drive away. No, we ready to go. And especially black.
Yeah, you try to avoid it, I guess.
Well, believe me, you can't. The bigger you get, the higher the probability that's going to happen. Unless you have a legacy business, family legacy business, like some people have. That's not. This is the wrong model for that. Or if you got a business, like Siemens. Well, of course, not Siemens lays off people all the time. But back when I was there, it started 20 years ago. Fuck, they never laid off anybody. Literally. Some of the big German companies, BMW, never. Plus, when you get the unions involved, it's even worse. And this is a blanket Trump exaggeration, but in general, unions don't give a fuck if the company makes any money. In general. Not in specific, they do. Like some of the contracts they had in the 70s for automotive. The guys make $18 an hour, and $26 an hour, and then $40 an hour. Had nothing to do with General Motors made any money. Nothing. It went from 18 to 26 to 40. How can that model survive? Well, now in America, there used to be 7 or 8 or 9 million people in unions. Now there's less than 1 million in unions. But it's taken 50, 60 years. When I bought Bow Valley Coal, I should have been a fucking coal miner. The money those guys got. And, okay.
Is there a way to restructure a company so that you can recycle a little bit the employees?
Sure. Sure, but it's more expensive. Okay, you guys, all you guys are. My favorite example I have two favorite examples. One of which is the buggy whip. You know, buggy whips, when you had buggies and horse in front and, you snap the whip. Well, the buggy whip guys never thought the car was going to do anything. There are no more buggy whips. But my better example, the finest typewriters made used to be called Smith Corona. Smith Corona, the old typewriters, just like, Smith Corona had been a top typewriter for 40, 50 years, 60 years. When IBM came out with the IBM Select, when all the numbers and letters were on a round thing like this, it revolutionized typewriters. They weren't called typewriters anymore. Smith Corona, their engineers thought that the ball spinning back and forth so many times wouldn't hold up and it'd break down, and so those kind of IBM Selects wouldn't last. So Smith Corona never changed their engineering. I can't remember where Smith Corona is from. If it's a German company or anyway. So they just continued year after year making the same old Smith Corona. But the IBM engineers made it better and better and better, and so the little cylindrical ball got more efficient. Instead of getting less efficient and breaking, and pretty soon Smith Corona closed down because they couldn't compete. I had a mentee many years ago. His great-grandfather had the patent. You're not old enough, but in the old days, when you used to buy Coca-Colas for a nickel, 5 cents, and there were these big iron boxes where you put a nickel in, and you hear the and then the bottle of Coca-Cola, a small bottle, would drop out. Okay. Then it went from a nickel to a dime to a quarter. Okay. Those big iron machines, and why they kept them in iron, I have no idea. Then the new machines came out where you could get a Coca-Cola, a Fanta, a bottle of water, and you could see the screen in front, and you put money in and change. Well, the old Coca-Cola, the company that made the machines, they wouldn't modernize. They moved the plant from Wisconsin to Mexico to save money. Okay? But if nobody's buying the machines, it doesn't matter. If the Mexicans are working for a fifth the amount of money. So the guy that owned the company, in the last 5 or 6 years I knew him, he couldn't lay anybody off. He kept the plant in Wisconsin, he kept the Mexican plant, and they had about $200 or $300 million in equity that the company had made over the many, many years, and that was retained earnings. It went from 240, 180, 160, and then they're out of business. Because they wouldn't lay anybody off, they wouldn't make the machine or make the change for the machine. It happens all the time in the tech business. The tech is, if you're not cutting edge, your model can be obsolete in a day. And I don't know if they're still copying them in China, and you put something that works up, it's gone. And that's why I tell the 4 or 5 of my mentees that are making, seemingly big amounts of money now, if they don't change their model, and if they don't have at least, a half a dozen derivative models, eventually it's going to be, old hat, and or Google will change the algorithms to make sure you don't make any money. As they did with AdSense. I told the group, we used to make a couple $100,000 a month on AdSense. Now you can't make $5,000 a month on AdSense. And now, even though I haven't kept up with it, one of the kids in the group, Christoph, was explaining how, you need millions of traffic to make pennies. And it changes, it ultimately changes. So the thinner the margins, I want you to have big, big, big margins. So if you mismanage, you fuck up, you still make a lot of money.
Question?
Okay.
You were talking about divesting ourselves. You talked about refinancing. I went back and I looked at some of the things. Dividend recapping too. Is that considered divesting yourself? So if you have LPs you take out a loan and then you cash them out, at least partially, if not entirely.
Are you talking about loans you've made to your own company?
Correct. So now you have an LP. He owns 60% of
LP meaning,
limited partners. Sorry.
okay,
You have an LP owning 60% of one of your assets. You've told him that we're going to exit in 5 years. He's getting 8% per year. What you do is you take out a loan because your asset's doing so well. The bank's willing to give you a loan, and you basically cash them out. So now you own.
okay, that's fine.
Okay. Couple
But you
content.
said cap.
It's called a dividend recapitalization.
Oh, I thought you meant recap. Okay, I thought capped. No, you mean recap. Okay, good, that's fine.
Can you give me? I wrote these, but I don't know the context. Context for seller understands they are not changing asset base. Who are we? Is that during negotiation? Where is that? In what context would you use?
Seller's not changing the asset base.
Seller understands they
Okay,
are not
that
changing.
once you close, that you're not selling off the assets.
You were talking, I think you were talking about that you made a deal, but then,
Yeah, well, I would make that deal. I would not tell them we're not changing the asset base
No,
because you're locking yourself in.
You're telling the seller. The understanding is the seller's not changing. He's understanding that he's not changing his asset base.
Well, he can't. Well, he doesn't own the assets anymore. He can't.